1977 congressional hearings were held on this very topic of biological testing done on citizens of this country without their consent. And aerial dispersion is one of the methods that is employed. So testing of some type is also a reasonable scenario to consider. Another possibility would be that of, you can call it the good cop scenario, that of one of protection. Protection of some sort for a threat, either real or perceived, either now or in the future. But some protective measure, whether you would call it vaccination or what, would be hard to say without knowing the specifics of what the material is. But the fact that there is a uniform distribution across the population would indicate the possibility, at least of consideration, of a protection system of some kind. A next alternative, which when first proposed, I would have to have considered as somewhat ludicrous or somewhat beyond the range of our normal experience, and that would be that of population reduction. Unfortunately, that, at least, let's say, as possibility, cannot be eliminated entirely. It does deserve to be considered, and the case for that centers on the statistics regarding illness and death, unfortunately not just illness but also death, that have been occurring in this country that are outside the normal thresholds. So there is at least a case for examination of that possibility. And the last that would be on my mind would be that of environmental mediation of some type, that there is an environmental situation of some kind that needs help, basically, and that these are mechanisms to attempt to mediate whatever problem may be occurring. Also, could be real or could be perceived, could be now or could be in the future. All of these are reasonable considerations. They came up fairly early in the investigation in terms of my thought pattern, and none of them have been either proven or eliminated. They are also not mutually exclusive. It's quite possible that any combination of one or all of those could be occurring simultaneously. So at this point, it would be premature to try and attach that conclusion with that which is known. But all of these scenarios are real and should be considered.
Welcome back. Tonight, a total News 4 investigation into a theory that's, well, it's right out of the X-Files.
Some people in this country say that jets flying overhead are making people sick on the ground below.
Total News 4 investigator Tom Grant has traveled across the country looking into this strange case of jet contrails.
Yes, and our story begins last summer when a man named William Wallace began taking video of jets flying overhead. And what he recorded above the small town of Orient, Washington, near the Canadian border, was pretty strange. William Wallace is a tall man with a history of working outdoors, yet he's very troubled by what he sees in the skies these days. Jet contrails, sometimes dozens of them, supposedly just vapor trails. But Wallace's video shows that these jet trails don't dissipate, they grow, turning clear skies into cloudy days.
After a while, all the clouds merge in together and the whole shelf, as far as you can see, just looks like one gray cloud.
After reading things like this survival newsletter from Montana and its article, quote, Death from Above, Wallace began having grave fears that something in the contrails was falling to Earth, making both him and his wife sick.
We noticed a taste in our mouth, a bitter taste, a chemical taste, and sometimes we could see this stuff coming just in a mist down. Every chance I get, I'm going to film this junk. And our plants started dying. There's no reason for them to die. We found dead birds around the place. 3 of our animals died. The more you can tell real clouds from fake clouds. We got terrible headaches, stomach aches, backaches. After they're gone, we start to feel better.
We might just write off Wallace's ideas as, well, eccentric, but he's not the only one worried about such things. Here's some home video from an Oklahoma man who watched a strange fibrous material fall from the sky after several jets circled overhead, material that he says made him sick.
and how this whole...
Here's a statement from Thomas Farmer of Jonesboro, Tennessee, who says he watched a group of KC-135s flying over, then found this material, which he calls angel hair, dropping from the sky. 4 days later, he was so sick he was bedridden. Here's photos of a gel-like substance that fell on a playground in Fairfield, California. Similar goo has reportedly fallen in both Oregon and Washington states and made people sick.
Hi, my name is Wayne Wallace. I put together some information today to update what contrails and chemtrails are and what the difference is, and how this whole thing began with my wife Ann and I when we became ill. The very beginning of this actually happened 2 years ago when I was working on a ranch and I was plowing a field. As I was plowing the field, there were 2 fighter jets that were flying over back and forth quite low. One of the jets flew and it came behind me as I was driving the tractor and zoomed right smack over me and sprayed something. And it was so low that it kicked up dust from the field that I've been plowing. It's a 110-acre ranch. I immediately shut the tractor off, jumped off the tractor, and ran to my International Scout, which had my binoculars. By the time I got there, it took a few minutes because when you plow a field, the dirt is at least a foot thick and it's hard to walk or run. And I was right in the middle of the field. By the time I got there, I was winded. And I got the binoculars and I kind of stood like this, like people do, to get my breath. And water, liquid just ran out of my nose. And it did that the rest of the day, just kept running and running. My eyes watered and burned. And I felt sort of nauseous and sick. I got back on the tractor and the planes flew around a little bit more and they left. And the next day I started didn't feel very well. My arm, joint in my arm hurt so bad I could not lift it high enough to comb my hair. And I was in a lot of pain. Then I started getting pains in my hip and my back. We went through winter, spring came, and I was feeling ill and Ann was feeling ill. And we felt kind of sick and really tired. We didn't know why. And I said to her, I feel like there's some kind of chemical. It's just, you know, we're being poisoned somehow. So we decided to try to find out what the cause could be, and we couldn't figure out what it was. So we got a video camera, and we started filming these things. And I noticed that the jets would go east to west, side by side, and sometimes as far as you could see. And then after a while, they would kind of mist together into a white, milky cloud, and sometimes you could actually see the stuff mist down. And we started tasting this bitter, chemical, metallic-like taste in our mouth. We didn't know what it was. After a while, we decided it just possibly could be from these jets. Eventually, 3 of our animals died. We had the mother of these 2 dogs here. The one in front is Buddy, and the one in back is Braveheart. Come here, Buddy. Come on. The mother looked quite a bit like Buddy. And one day, she came up to us and she had these red spots all over her face, parts of it. And we thought maybe the pups had gotten into a fight with her. But they'd never been that way, so we decided that we'd keep an eye on her. And the next day, the little red spots got about that big, and they were bloody, and the fur came out. Within 3 days, they were about this big, and then she started getting them all over her body, and her ears actually started falling apart, and they became gooey and bloody. And we became very upset and scared, and took her to the vet, and we had her put to sleep. So we had one dog down. We had another dog that had a congestive heart failure, and she swelled up, and eventually she couldn't drink or eat, and she died. And we had a cat that died a horrible death. It looked like it was paralyzed on the right half of the cat's face. And eventually, the cat died. Well, we had to put her to sleep with the generator in the back of our Scout. And they died within about a month and a half of each other. It took a couple weeks for the cat to die and about the same length of time for the little dog. And